I'm John GRAFFT, and I love Chicago real estate. Between showings, I stop in my favorite places, talk with local business owners, and bring their story to you. This is my Chicago.
Hi, Jenny.
Hi,
Of Property
John.
People LLC. How are you?
I'm great. Cold, how are you?
Good. We're going to get out of here real quick. Thanks for meeting us here, and thanks for allowing us to do this. I love the building. There's lots of space. Want to see downstairs?
Would love to show you downstairs.
Let's do it. Come on.
Yeah.
Thanks for bearing with the January weather. I know it's cold. I wanted to show the whole view, the whole city, the whole building. So this is a big building. It's on a wide lot. Tell me more about it.
Yeah. So it's actually, it's a 37.5-foot wide lot, which is nice for Chicago because it's oversized. It's a 4-unit building. We've got 2 duplexes, 2 simplexes. Every unit has a private balcony and designated rooftop deck space, which is really nice. All units are 3 beds, 2.5 baths. And we started construction April 8th of 2022, and we finished our first 2 units around the beginning of December. So it's been a fun project so far.
I like that you divided the roof upstairs. A lot of times that goes to just the penthouse unit, and you were smart to divide it between the 2 simplexes because it is so large and it is big. And the way you walled it off really made it feel, and the separate entrances, made it feel like you have your own entrance, your own space, your own designated area. Was that a hard decision? Was it already spec'd like that? Did the architect do it?
There really wasn't like a hard, concrete decision in place before we took over these plans. As we took over this project, we bought it shovel ready from another developer.
Okay.
So the plans were existing, and we were just deciding, where to put the rooftop deck for the second floor because it needed a deck. So it was either the second floor gets the rooftop on the garage, leaving the duplexes with nothing, and the simplex, the third floor gets its own rooftop deck on the building, or split it between the 2 units. And because they're almost 1,000 square feet each, split between units 2 and 3, we figured that was plenty of space. And then every unit has its own rooftop deck, so.
Yeah, you did that. You did the same thing with the duplexes, and looking down from the bird's eye view, you can tell how large it is. You can see the big space. So really smart to use the space and utilize it that way.
Yeah, we figured more outdoor space is better. People in Chicago, even though we have a lot of cold weather, when it's nice out, people really like to take advantage of that. And so we thought it was just an extra added selling point to have the 2 outdoor areas as opposed to 1 or 1.5, or however you want to categorize it.
So it's not often I see a woman developer or women in this business in terms of construction, development at all. What's your story?
Well, my story is I was a TV producer for 8 years before I got into real estate investing.
That's why you did this video.
Yeah, well, I was in the production side, so yeah, I was pretty comfortable with them. But yeah, I worked in TV production for about 8 years, and I was teaching yoga. I was very much into health, but all like my life, I was always very creative and just had a love of everything creative. Art stuff, entertainment, music, theater, dance, colors, painting, all that stuff. And so in 2019, when I met my partner, Greg, he's a general contractor, and we just decided to start buying properties on our own. He was coming from a background of working with homeowners for 20 plus years, and was kind of just at the point where he said, I don't know if I want to work with homeowners anymore. I'm kind of like tired of that, but if we do our own thing, that could be pretty cool. And so we looked into, just learning more about, what is it? What is, flipping when you're actually buying something for yourself, renovating it, and then selling it to a retail buyer as opposed to, working with a homeowner. And we looked for a property. We were looking for condos. We found a single-family home in Norwood Park East to gut rehab instead of a condo, and that was our first project, and it just kind of kept going from there.
From a GC perspective, it's got to be so much better to work from the ground up or from your own project instead of having an owner kind of over your shoulder making decisions, and also someone who doesn't necessarily know what they're doing. One of the difficult parts about working with homeowners is they don't understand how things work, or they're making their own decisions, but they may not be the best decisions, and you want to guide them. But here, you have controlling interest. You can do what you want. How did you 2 meet?
We met. And I lived in Tennessee for 10 years prior to moving to Chicago, and he's from Illinois, from the suburbs, and we actually met on a dating site app while he was in Tennessee working on a project.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, and just got to know each other that way, and then decided to get together and move to Chicago together, because again, he was in the suburbs and looking for a change, and I was just going through a change in my life as well. I said, let's do Chicago.
Okay, that's nice.
Yeah.
So you chose the Norwood Park property. What is it like becoming a developer? What was that journey like for you? Because a developer is a funny term. It's like, it could mean you built one building, or it could mean you built skyscrapers, and it gets thrown around a lot. So where do you start that process?
For us, I think it just kind of happened a little bit organically because we started with rehabs. And so I wouldn't have considered myself a developer at the time. I wouldn't say we were flippers either, because our projects took longer than your typical cosmetic flip project, and we really paid attention to all the details, and we didn't cut corners. So rehabbing, renovating, I mean, by the time we got to our 5th and 6th properties, we had a single family home that was ready to rehab that came with an adjacent vacant lot. And that gave us the opportunity to actually build a new construction home on that lot while we were rehabbing the property.
Oh, that's interesting. Where was that?
Yeah, that was East Albany Park.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was December of 2020. We closed on those. And initially we were gonna tear down the house, build 2 single family homes side by side. And then when we walked through the house, it was just so beautiful, the woodwork. It was already 2 full stories. It just had so much going for it. And so we decided to renovate it and do a single family new construction right next door. And after we did that, I basically just became a spoiled little brat, and I said I'm never going back to rehabbing again.
Oh yeah, it's all new.
Construction was amazing.
It's a fresher experience. You're not like, what happened? What was behind the wall? What's between the floors? What are we doing?
Yeah.
So sourcing these deals, finding things to work on, what's that process look like for you and Greg?
We're very lucky, I think, that we have a lot of people who kind of look for deals for us. And that's also something that I think has just happened over time. We do a lot of networking. I'm very active in just going to meetup events with real estate investors and meeting people wherever I can and talking to them, telling them who we are, what we do, and then their interest is piqued and they're like, oh, well, I can find something for you, And so we have people that bring us deals, whether it's a wholesaler, a realtor, just an equity partner who wants to find more deals to do with us. And we do our own searching too. We kind of just pick through MLS and see stuff on Redfin and all that. And if we drive by a lot, we got our eyes on it. I'll look it up and, just to see. But yeah, we've been pretty lucky with people bringing deals to us.
Coming from Nashville, where were you before that? Tennessee.
Yeah, I was in Knoxville.
In Knoxville,
East Tennessee, yep. And before that, I was living in Florida. Before that, I was in California, and before that, New Jersey. So New Jersey is my home, North Jersey.
So you've been all over the place.
I have. I've been in a lot of, not a lot, but I've been in several major, metropolitan cities, and then Knoxville, which is a smaller city, and now Chicago. But yeah, kind of like throughout the country.
So when you're doing this, how do you make these design decisions? Because I see lots of good decisions here. I see good floor plans. I see good things that are in the space. Who does that?
So under normal circumstances, when Greg and I design a project from scratch, we collaborate on that, especially the exterior elevations and the floor plans. This project was shovel ready, so we bought the plans from another developer, and so we weren't able to actually create the plans or change them on paper. We did make changes on site, but of course we were able to pick out all the finishes, and I am usually in charge of the finishes. I do always kind of send my ideas through the channel and the team, and ask our project manager, ask Greg, what do you think of this versus this, and just to kind of get feedback. But I follow great designers on Instagram.
Okay.
I do, quite frankly, especially some local designers in Chicago, like Devin Grace Interiors. I just think she's incredible, and I love her design aesthetic, and so I was very inspired by her, and just like that Japandi modern sort of blend, and that's where this all came from, really.
Show me some examples of that. Japandi modern, I've never heard. What does that mean?
Yeah, no, well, so the Japandi is like a blend of Japanese and Scandinavian designs.
Okay.
And so if you think like Scandinavian is very like sleek and modern and
I think of these
clean.
floors when I think of Scandinavian.
Absolutely. And then Japan, it's very, the one word, the perfect word that comes to mind when you think of Japan, and I've been to Japan, I don't know if you have, but is Zen. You just feel like you're at peace when you walk somewhere or walk through something. So that and kind of minimalist. And so we paired those ideas together with a little bit more modern. So adding the black cabinetry, along with the natural texture tones of the floors and the other cabinets, that's where like the modern sort of blends in and comes from. Yeah, I don't know. It's just, I wanted a space that felt like you weren't bombarded by stuff when you walked in, but there was something there where you went, oh my gosh, like that's striking. And that's what we did with the kitchen. So we made the kitchen kind of like the centerpiece of the units.
I think it's a nice minimalist approach, and you come in here and you're like, okay, I have a clean palette. I can work with all of this. I can make my own decisions to decorate the walls and add something to it, but it's a great base to work with.
Thank you.
So this is Avondale, or would you say where Avondale meets Logan Square?
Logandale. It's Logandale, I like to call it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was saying I was late coming here, and I was talking about a project or something that someone wants to buy on Elston, and that's what I said too. I was like, this area is like, it's right in the middle of everything, but what is it in itself? Because it is right there, and it's hard to say. Is there a particular neighborhood you like to work in, or are there particular areas that you're looking at? How do you make those decisions?
Yeah, so because we started our work on the north side and northwest side of Chicago, we decided for our business model that we were just going to stick to the north and northwest side and try to stay within like a 3 to 5 mile radius of like North Mayfair, Albany Park, Norwood Park East, and now Avondale. We're kind of coming a little bit down, but really, if it's, we're open to other sides of Chicago, but for us to be able to scale our operations, we're a small team, and it just would make it really difficult to do projects of this caliber, we believe, you know, like down south.
Yeah.
Even though there are parts of the South that I love. I mean, I love Hyde Park, I love Bridgeport.
It's so much time. I have the same approach to my business, and I'm like, there's great real estate over there, and there's great people, and there's great things to do, but do I want to spend 30 minutes driving there, and that 30 minutes, another 30 minutes back, or do I want to be 15 minutes from everything and focus harder in this particular area?
Exactly. That's exactly what we did. So, I mean, because the first 2 properties we bought were on the northwest side, we just kept looking for properties and telling people to bring us properties on the north and northwest side. Now we're in Lakeview as well, which I love. Now I'm spoiled again. You know, I got spoiled after that first new construction project, and now I'm like, I don't want to work anywhere else besides Lakeview or Lincoln Park, which is like a whole other level.
Yeah.
But just once you go there and you, I don't know. I mean, this is beautiful here too. I do love this area. It's really up and coming. It's cool. It's urban. It's hip.
Price points are great too.
Price points are great.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't find this in other, you know.
This is like almost $1 million in Lincoln Park.
Yes.
Yeah.
Agreed. Or even, you know, even in Bucktown, Wicker Park, this would be, you know, in probably the higher 8s or 9s. So yeah, no, it's good. It's a good price point for the consumer, for the buyer, you know, that we can offer a nice product that has nicer than just builder grade finishes, but isn't like super high end. So we get to conserve on our budget, but we also deliver a product to a homeowner or a buyer, and they get something nice for a reasonable price.
You get to pass those savings right through to them, which is great. It's just a pass through.
Yeah.
What are the struggles that you deal with?
Oh, where do I start? The struggles related to this project, or just in general with our business?
In general.
In general, I would say one of the biggest struggles is always contractors, just finding and vetting quality contractors. And then once you find them and you vet them and you hire them and they do a good job for you, keeping them. You know, it's like sometimes they just disappear. It's the weirdest thing. And they're a good person and they're a good contractor, or something happens, you know? They go through a financial crisis of their own. They're not telling you, but you kind of know that something's going on with money.
They're often hand to mouth.
Yeah. And sort of like, you know, robbing Peter to pay Paul and all that. But they don't tell you these things. They just start acting differently. And then next thing you know, they're gone. And so you've got to always be sourcing contractors, always be looking for more contractors. And as much as you want to depend on like one great crew, we can't do that either.
Yeah.
So we have to always look for, ideally we'd like to have, you know, 2 or 3 solid crews for all our main trades, so that we can scale. So I would say contractors, and then that immediately directly affects our ability to scale our business, which is something we've been wanting to do. I mean, we're only 3 years young, so I feel like we still have time, and I don't want to rush the process, but I feel like we are ready to scale. We just need that, you know, and some more streamlined operations and systems in place. So yeah.
The contractor thing is absolutely accurate. I've always described it as, I don't know any contractors that planned on doing whatever they're doing, and trades are difficult. And so you have someone that things didn't work out the way they wanted to. Now they're painting, or now they're a carpenter, and they may enjoy that, but it still wasn't their life plan. And I think that bears down on them a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's very, very true. I mean, I know even for Greg, he's a general contractor and he's been doing this most of his life. And I mean, he did start out by doing carpentry, but when the economy crashed in 2008, he basically was forced into doing everything just because that was the nature of the beast back then with, you know, financials and housing and all that stuff. And so, you know, he wanted to be a carpenter or was good at being a carpenter, and then he just had to go into every trade and then eventually became a general contractor, full-fledged general contractor.
I feel like I can picture how you guys met. So you're swiping, and then you're like, okay, oh yeah, he's Greg, and then, okay, let's meet here, and then you're sitting at the bar, and you guys get to know each other, and then he's like, I'm great at building things, and you're like, I'm great at design. And is that kind of what it looked like?
You know, that's cute, but no. That's
No.
that's not how it happened.
It's very fairylandish in my head. Yeah.
You know, we shared a bond of volleyball.
Okay.
We both play volleyball, so we have that hobby in common.
Did you play at the beach?
Yes.
Yeah.
Beach
Which beach?
volleyball. Mostly Foster.
Okay.
Sometimes Oak Street. It's closer to me. But no, I have no design background. I am a complete noob when it comes to design. I mean, this is the experience that I have, and my passion for creativity. And like I said, theater, music, all that. So I feel like there's a natural inclination there towards creativity and design. But yeah, I mean, I'm like learning on the job. You know, I'm learning as we go, and with every project, I learn something new. And so yeah, I that's not my background at all. So no, that wasn't the conversation.
Shucks. I think passion's really important. Because you can know everything in the world, but if you're not putting it in and you don't feel passionate about what you're doing, you're not going to get the same kind of result. And I think a lot of people learn on their feet because they want to learn, they want to be involved. And sometimes it has the best result because you're willing to try things that you wouldn't have otherwise. And some people are jaded, or they're just stuck in their ways. And even though they have the experience, they know what to do, or at least in their head they know what to do. Because they have so much experience, sometimes it works against them because they're unwilling to do different things. Do you ever experience that working with any of the people that you work with? So I know we were talking about the cabinet designs earlier, or don't even have to say anyone's name, but do you ever work with someone and you're like halfway into the relationship, you're like, maybe this wasn't the best choice?
As far as like working with a vendor or a supplier?
A vendor or a supplier, yeah.
Usually the people that we work with, that we decide to work with on the job, it goes smoothly enough to at least get through that one job.
Okay.
What happens along the way and like towards the end where, let's say there's a crisis towards the end where, oh my gosh, you know, we're on the last bathroom and we're short tile because either we mismeasured or our tile supplier mismeasured, or we need, you know, and we're trying to get a hold of our tile supplier and our tile supplier is not answering the phone and we need the tile like now. And then they finally get a hold of, you know, they're like, okay, it'll be there in 3 weeks. Well, we can't have it in 3 weeks. So in those moments towards like the end of the project, that's when you start to see, I think, for me, my experience, okay, maybe we're not going to work with that person again. It's time to go find another tile supplier, because that was when we really, really, really needed you.
Yeah.
You know, not when I walk into the showroom at the beginning of the project and I'm ready to spend $30,000. Of course you're there for me. That's easy, right? But when we really need you and it's just a small little tile order, you know, at the end because we're short, that's the break for me, the breaking point. Yeah.
So, moving over here.
Yeah.
We have the kitchen on this side. How did you decide on this color palette?
This was inspired by the people that I follow on Instagram. It was, it's modern, it's simple, it's light, it's fresh, it's clean, and I love it. But again, you know, I try not to pick designs that it's just about me loving something. I want to think about the buyer, right? Because we're building these on spec, we're not building these custom, and so I do have to be careful to make sure that I'm going to put something together that is going to have a little pop and be a little bit like, oh, wow, that's cool, it's a neat design idea, I wouldn't have thought of that, but still appeal to like the majority of our buying demographic.
It's hard to get that medium because you want to do things that people are going to notice and they're going to stand out, but for all the right reasons. And sometimes you have to be bold, but sometimes you can overstep where someone's like, And I feel like you have a good blend of that here. There's nothing here that I think anyone would find offensive in any way. It's all neutral in a good way. I think that word is overused sometimes. But you're working with black and white, you're working with earth tones. And I think if you do that, literally those just 2 things or 3 things, it's hard to create a bad product.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think one area where I tend to go a little bit, I want to say wackadoodle, like creative license is in the light fixtures. And that was the only comment from one of our showings that she said she didn't like the light fixtures. But I think only one person said that.
That's never a real reason, in my opinion. They were never going to buy this anyway.
Right.
Because any light fixture can be changed.
Exactly.
If that's someone's true feedback,
Yeah.
they're not real buyers.
Yeah.
Right? That's my experience as a realtor. It's like when someone says that, I'm like, okay, so you don't want it because of the light fixtures? I'll change that right now.
Yeah.
I'll give you $500. Let's do it.
Easy fix. Yeah. No, I mean, I think what I see done sometimes with other developers or people who are rehabbing is they put in too much different stuff. It's like you have one countertop, then you have another countertop, and then you have a different backsplash, and then they've got a floor that they didn't quite think how that floor was going to look with all the other things that they just put in there. I mean, some bathrooms have 4 or 5 tiles in them, and I know that professional designers can do that, and they do it well, and they make it look seamless, but what I don't ever want to do is get into I'm picking these 4 or 5 tiles out because the more the better, and then putting them in some random combination. I would rather put less tile. I would rather it be super simple, like a blank canvas, and then the buyer can come in and they can hang up a cool shower curtain. They can put up a piece of artwork that's funky and colorful or whatever, and really make that space pop a little bit more rather than being stuck with the built-in tile or the built-in cabinetry.
What advice do you have for someone who wants to get into this space, who wants to work in real estate?
In real estate in general, or real estate development?
Development, flipping. It's funny, you said, when we were talking about flipping earlier, you were like, well, I wasn't a developer, I'm not a flipper, and we don't cut corners. Do you think flipping has a negative connotation?
I do.
I think so too. I don't like the word flipper.
Yeah.
And when someone describes themselves as a flipper, I'm like, I know exactly who you are, unfortunately. Because it's funny, the guys that describe themselves as flippers are typically the ones that are flippers.
Yeah, it's definitely, it has a negative connotation. I mean, I have met people who flip, who are very good people, stand-up people. But yeah, that word just doesn't, sit well. And I also think of flipping as, it's like a renovation that you can do in 4 to 6 weeks.
Lipstick.
Which doesn't exist in Chicago.
Yeah.
If it does, find me the house.
Yeah.
Find me the property.
The margins aren't there.
I want a 6-week flip.
Yeah.
I would love that. Are you kidding? These places are so old and the plumbing is decrepit.
It only happens on
no
HGTV.
Way.
Yeah.
Or in California, where you have a house from like the 1980s and all it really needs is just like flooring and cabinetry and paint.
It's mid-century, it looks good.
It looks great,
yeah.
But what advice would I give to people that want to get into this industry? God, that's a great question. I would say network. There's a lot of ways, there are a lot of ways to get into any aspect of real estate investing, whether it's buy and hold, rehabbing, development, but you have to connect with people and meet people in those industries and related industries, and that will help you sort of carve your path and will give you the resources that you need to go from, not knowing anything, not knowing where to start to, oh, there's a path. Let me take, I'm going to go step 1. And then, you maybe meet someone else and maybe it's a lender and you find out about the financing aspect or the partnership aspect. You meet some contractors, people that you can hire. So you need to have a team to be able to do this. And one way to get your team and learn about all the different elements of what makes this business run is to network and meet other people in the industry.
How do you network here in Chicago? How did you go about it coming here with no experience and no understanding of Chicago?
I joined a ladies investor group.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a ladies specific group in Chicago. We used to do just Zoom meetings during the pandemic, and now everything is live, and it's grown really nicely. We sometimes have 20 or 30 ladies that come to these events, and so I joined that one. And then there's the Chicago Multifamily Meetup Group, which is investors, of all levels. You can be an aspiring investor with nothing yet, but you're learning, you're reading, you're networking, to, a pro, like a multifamily, syndicator who's doing multi-million-dollar deals or what have you. And that has a really great turnout too. And those are two of the meetup events that I've gone to consistently over the last couple of years. And then a couple of other local networking events, just kind of, here and there. But those are the two I'd say that have been most consistent in my life.
Thanks so much for the time today. You have a beautiful product, great everything, great location. Thank you again.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you being here.
Yeah.